Globally, Nigeria liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, has expanded at a compound average growth rate of about 20% over the past 15 years. In the outgoing year 2022, the growth in that business is expected at just around 1.00 million tons, one of the weakest growth since the gas offtake program of the NLNG started back in 2007. Licensed cooking gas offtakers allege that the market is under pressure from policy reversals, resulting in a potential loss of 500,000 tons in terms of growth. Joining me to discuss the development is Dr. John Erinne. He is a past president of the Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers and is also the chief executive officer at Matrix Petrochemical Limited. We thank you for coming through on the show tonight. Thank you for coming, sir. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm just going to start with the whole decade of gas planned by Nigeria. Do you think we have what it takes to deliver on the decade of gas, in particular having local sufficiency of gas, either for electricity, for cooking, and other sources?
Well, in principle, yes. To start with, the gas we require primarily for electricity is slightly different from the gas we require for cooking. For cooking, we require LPG. For power generation, mostly we require natural gas.
So do you think the decade of gas can deliver, because people talk about the cooking gas, we want to move away from fossil, from firewood and other forms of cooking sources that are not healthy for women, children, and others. So do you think we have what it takes to deliver on LPG?
Yes, we have abundant natural gas resources from which you extract the LPG components. So we have plenty of that. We have enough to sustain the economy and to enable the LPG subsector to grow.
I'm just
and achieve its potentials.
Why am I just worried about the shortages almost all the time and price increases?
Well, in fairness, over a prolonged period, there was stability in the market. After the intervention of Nigeria LNG and the domestic LPG supply program, stability was restored.
That was around 2007,
This was in the last quarter of 2007.
Yes.
And so that's for about 15 years, more or less. Well, in the last one year, plus or minus, prices have become a little unstable. Again, movements in the international market do affect the prices, domestic prices ultimately. But apart from that, I think there's a few other developments and issues in the industry which are beginning to impact negatively on the industry and on growth. I mean, we've had remarkable growth in that sector. As at 2007, we were at 50 to 60,000 tons per annum. And in the intervening 15 years, the industry was grown to about 1.3 million tons per annum.
How's that ecosystem managed, really, in terms of who the parties are, who the operators are, from the NLNG down to where I can get it?
Okay, incidentally, I had the privilege of being involved in setting up those structures and the model that prevailed. I think Nigeria LNG did a very thorough job and selected off-takers who had demonstrable capacity and capability to handle the entire value chain required to deliver LPG to the doorstep of consumers. That means starting from storage facilities, primary storage facilities, through to secondary storage, transportation, logistics, bottling, and the whole gamut of facilities required to handle LPG. So Nigeria LNG insisted and ensured that the off-takers, the initial off-takers, were vendors who had such capabilities, or they were in alliance providing support for each other. Yes, to ensure that they were capable of providing handling the product and providing it to the consumers.
So for 15 years, would you say that system, that structure had run fairly well?
Yeah, it had run fairly well. Naturally, the window was opened the number of off-takers was expanded. Well, I don't think that compromised quality significantly. And I think it did function well. And that enabled the kind of phenomenal growth that was witnessed in the industry over the years.
So essentially, what was the role of the NLNG? Just licensing, registering?
No, NLNG was producing LPG components, but was exporting them at that stage. So NLNG discovered that there was need in the domestic economy and decided to divert part of the LPG production to the domestic economy. And at that stage, it was a bit of sacrifice on their part because they could have earned more money by exporting the gas. Yeah. But they understood that they also had responsibility to the country to assist to ensure that the LPG sector was literally recreated and then stabilized in order to deliver growth. Yeah.
Within that space, we have the NNPC owning about 60% of mobile gas, 60% of Chevron, FPSO, and so on. Is there a level playing field here for local investors in that space? What do you think the NNPC should be part of the liquefied petroleum gas business in any way?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Let's put it in proper perspective. NNPC has 49% of her NLNG.
So as a shareholder?
Yeah, it's a shareholder in NLNG. But it's a minority shareholder related to the other companies, the other partners. Now, in the Mobil and Chevron operations, NNPC is a partner, is a senior partner, but non-operating senior partner. So it's not a shareholder, but it's a partner. And what happens is that all these companies produce LPG, but Mobil Producing Nigeria Unlimited, MPNU, operates a plant in Bonny Island, but exports all the products. Chevron operates from Escravos. All the LPG is also exported. So it's only Nigeria LNG that has taken the courage and has shown sufficient commitment to the domestic economy to make that sacrifice and to support the LPG industry in Nigeria.
So what is the LPG off-takers complaining that it looks like the NNPC wants to take over what the NLNG is doing? Well, whether licensing or relicensing or approving new existing licenses and registration.
Well, I'm not sure what the complaint exactly is, but the only thing I know is that lately I am aware that Nigeria LNG, for some curious reason, extended the contracts for the off-takers by 3 months rather than the 1 year extension contracts that used to be offered to them. And some of them are a little concerned and uncomfortable about that, understandably, because in business you want to have reasonably long-term contracts in order to make commitments. I also understand, I don't know how accurate it is, that NNPC, as a shareholder in Nigeria LNG, wants to cause an alteration in the operational model. And I guess that may unrattle some of the vendors, the off-takers, and for good reason too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least in business, you want sustainability, you want assurances, you want to be sure that contracts are respected. You are making investments, by the way, and those investments don't come easy.
Absolutely.
They don't come cheap, not with exchange rate, inflation, and everything. So you want to be sure where you put in your money, and there's a lot of certainty. You need that in business. So thank you so much. We'll continue this conversation some other time as we continue to see further developments in that space, and we'll leverage your experience in that space. Thank you so much. We thank you for coming. That's Dr. John Erinne, the CEO at Metric Petroleum Chemical Limited.